Okay, for the last activity in lab this week, we're going to take a look at the effects of cuff position on blood pressure. And so what you want to do is go into our Welcome Center. Again, blood pressure settings, but in this case, we're going to do blood pressure limb settings. Double click on that. Okay, and so what we want to do is get set up. Same basic setup as what we had originally. Okay, so for this activity, what we're going to do is use the same basic setup as we did in the previous experiment. So we have the blood pressure cuff on the upper arm with its force transducer, pressure transducer plugged into input 1. We've got our finger pulse transducer on the middle finger of my arm with the blood pressure cuff into input number 2. Everything is set up. We're not going to use a cardio microphone for this. We're going to add a comment, so start and stop briefly. Right click to add a comment, and this is going to be cuff position. Upper arm. We add that, and then again, because we have the problem with the inverted scale, we're going to set the scale, and it's going to run. Do this negative one here, negative on the top over here, and so that's going to reverse things around for us. We're going to hit start, so we're going to start to pump it up, and again, you can see the cuff pressure increasing on channel 1 and our finger pulse transducer on channel 2. So once we get it up there, we're going to allow the blood pressure cuff to slowly deflate by turning our valve slightly counterclockwise. And we can see the pulse starting to come back. And once the pressures drop below about 60 millimeters of mercury, then you can completely deflate the cuff. And so spin it to the counterclockwise position and let the air out. You can see as I'm squeezing it to put the air out, it's putting a little bit of pressure back into it. We're going to add a comment. And so the add the comment is going to be cuff position. Forearm. Okay, so for the second activity where we're taking a look at cuff pressure, we're going to stop this right here. We're going to add a comment, and so the add the comment is going to be cuff position. Forearm. Add that comment there. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to move our blood pressure cuff. Instead of on our upper arm, we're going to put it on our forearm, but we're going to leave the pulse transducer in position. So we've got everything set. We're going to hit start. Close off the valve in the fully clockwise position. You can see a good pulse wave on our channel 2. I'll scale this for a moment. And so I'm going to inflate the blood pressure cuff on the forearm. As I increase the pressure, you can see the pressure going up correspondingly on channel 1. And then we're going to slowly too fast. Slowly let the pressure out. And then once again, when you drop below 60 millimeters of mercury, you can then allow this to deflate completely. And so that's going to be doing it for the forearm. Stop. Next thing we're going to do is leg sitting. So we're going to add a comment. So cuff position. Leg sitting. Okay, so for the leg position portion of this experiment, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to put the blood pressure cuff actually on the leg. We're going to put it on the calf. We have to untwist our pulse transducer a little bit here so we have some length of the cable. Okay. And our pulse transducer is a little bit short, so we may have to position this on the floor. I think we're okay right now. What we're going to want to do is take our finger pulse transducer and put it on our left big toe. Now keep in mind, you don't want to step on the pulse transducer. You don't want to do damage to that. And so we're going to put it on my left toe. And we're going to put the blood pressure cuff, put that on before the pulse transducer. We're going to put the blood pressure cuff on the calf of my left leg. Okay, so at this point, again, we're going to have to lower this. So we have the blood pressure cuff around my left calf. We've got the finger pulse transducer on my left toe with the smooth part on the other side of the toe. Hit start. Auto scale this channel. See if I've got it. Okay, so we have the blood pressure cuff on my left calf. We have the finger pulse transducer on my left big toe. We're seeing a pretty good pulse trace on the channel 2. I've got the valve closed. I'm going to start to increase pressure. So I wasn't able to do the measurements on my lower leg because the blood pressure cuff wouldn't fit around my calf. Okay, to take the measurements of blood pressure with the different cuff positions, what you want to do is go back and see basically here we've got the blood pressure cuff pressure raising up. And at a certain point, it is going to be greater than the pressure. And this is the upper arm, the brachial artery. That's going to result in a drop in the blood flow that can be picked up by the pulse transducer. And so what we want to do is figure out where we are seeing the pulse coming back. So in this case, our systolic pressure is going to be about 146. And then our diastolic pressure becomes a little bit harder to measure, but basically you want to see, scale this, where we have a position where the peak of these is relatively constant. And so you can put the marker in here. So right click, add a marker. And so the amplitude of this is about 2.19. 2.2. So it looks like we're about at the same. Oops. And again, if you have problems getting it into the valley, you can expand it out a little, I'm sorry, expand it, the horizontal axis a little bit. It's 2.2. So they're about that right point. And so the blood pressure goes along with that. Up here at the top is about 83 millimeters of mercury. We go down and take a look at it in the forearm position, basically do the same thing. We've got the blood pressure cuff going up in pressure up through here on channel 1. Taking a look at the loss of the blood flow here on channel 2. Auto scale this. And we've probably seen the blood flow kind of coming in probably at around this point right in through here. So about 158, 157. And again, so that would be the systolic pressure. And it's going to be a little bit harder to determine the diastolic. But again, you want to go to the point where from the peak to the valley, marker. Going to be relatively constant. So that's 2.12. Lost the marker. 2.12. So we're probably in this range over here, which is going to be about 80 millimeters, or 88 millimeters of mercury. I was unable to do the lower leg positions because I couldn't get the blood pressure cuff to stay on my calf. So that's it for the lab this week. As always, if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you and have a great week.